Selenium versus browser, the battle of the tools in robot framework. Just before we get started, I just want to mention that this event is brought to you by Tesena's training events. And it's presenting a Tesena Labs production. If you don't know what Tesena Labs is, Tesena has an organization within the organization that allows people who work for Tesena to spend time working on new things that interest them, building tools, working with frameworks, and basically working together and learning on things together. And it helps them, it helps us. It's a great thing. So most of the webinars you see coming out of Tesena are actually productions of Tesena Labs. So see that something's coming out of it, and today's webinar is also out of Tesena Labs. So this webinar is starring myself, but I'm just playing the supporting role because the main star is Leila Miri. Leila, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Hi guys, and welcome. I am a test automation engineer that tests for more than 3 years and went from manual to automation testing. And I do enjoy it. I do like to find new ways to automate things also in my daily life, and always looking forward to hear your opinions and the opinions of public about the new tools, about the old tools, and basically, all the things about automation.
Okay. And we'd like to find out something about you, because you will also be stars of the show, because you'll be helping us decide which tool is the winner of the battle of the tools. So if you could scan the code or go to slide.do in your web browser and put in hashtag battle for the event code and tell us which framework you're currently using. I'm afraid I've left there just one answer, so for Mikael Jurka, it's going to be a difficult choice.
Maybe if we have, people from Finland in here, then it would be like 100% robot framework.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of organizations that use it in the Czech Republic and Slovakia as well.
Okay, so it's obvious that we're all working with robot framework. So let's get back to the presentation. And we also would like your feedback. We try continuously to improve these webinars. We try to improve what the webinars are about. So if you would like to also scan this QR code, and you'll get to our feedback form, and our training events will anyway send you an email with a link to the survey, to the feedback form after the webinar. So I'm here to set the scene. And what we did in this Tesena Labs team is we tried to put ourselves in the shoes of our customers. We tried to imagine a situation that we're an established organization, we're working with some tools, and we're having some problems, and we're thinking about using some different tools. And how would we go about it? And this is the story of this webinar. So our story is that we're working in a bank, and the bank is going through a digital revolution. They've gone from waterfall and external development, and now it's all internal agile teams doing in-house development. And there's been a huge learning curve, and great things are happening. Our product, what our team is responsible for testing, is the internet pages, and it's a modern technology stack. It's really nice web pages they've built. And it's mission critical. Business are really keen on using the web pages as a sales channel to engage new clients and get existing clients to buy new products. So it's very, very important. And of course, a reputational risk. Yeah, if the web pages don't work, then it doesn't look so great. It doesn't look like the bank is so competent if the web page is not working. So we have to do a lot of testing on the web pages. And our team has come from manual. Yeah, we started out. We're from this bank where we've been doing waterfall projects, so we've been mostly doing manual testing, and we started doing this agile work. We started working in sprints, and we started just getting really, really overwhelmed with regression testing. And we said, okay, we need to automate, but we've got no skills. So we looked around and we went on some training courses. We went on a training course at Tesena, Introduction to Robot Framework and Selenium. And we said, great, this is cool. We can manage this. We've got no skills, but with Robot Framework and Selenium, we can start automating. And that's what we did. And we had quite a bit of success. We've got now hundreds of regression tests automated. And we're also doing some visual regression testing, which is very important on the web pages. We're using the Watch UI library for Robot Framework, which is also from Tesena. It's open source, so you can access that on GitHub. But now the team is getting a little bit more, let's say, aggressive. They've got used to Agile, and they want to go DevOps. Yeah, the developers want to go into DevOps, and they want to do CI/CD, and we really start to struggle with the new challenges. And the new challenge is this. When the developers want to check in the code several times a day, and they want to roll out to production once a day. And our regression tests are now in the pipeline, and the developers are frustrated because each check-in takes several hours because the tests are running for quite a long time. So they're a bit frustrated with the speed. It's slowing them down. Also, we're spending a lot of time checking the results of the regression tests. We had lots of stability issues with the tests, and we've learned as we've gone along. And we really, with Selenium, we're spending a lot of time. It seems to me, I'm the test manager. It seems to me we spend a lot of time developing the scripts, trying to get this script stable, because we have all these timing and synchronization issues to make sure they're stable. So we spend a lot of time developing and maintaining tests to get going. So recently we hired Leila. Leila's an experienced test engineer. And I said to Leila, like, what can we do about this? And Leila said, have you heard about Playwright? And I said, no, I've heard about Playwright. Yeah, I know it promises a lot of things, but you know, we chose Robot Framework and Selenium, and we're used to it. We know how to do it. We've now got hundreds of tests written into it, so I can't change the framework. And she said, well, if we use the browser library in Robot Framework, then the impact shouldn't be so great. And I said, okay, but there's no guarantee that it'll be any faster, any better. So Leila said, let's do a proof of concept, and we'll prove if it's going to be better or not. So, Leila, would you like to take over? I'll just show my next. I just want to mention the team. I'm sorry. The team, the team is myself. I'm the test manager. I'm a skeptical old guy. Yeah, I'm mega experienced, but totally untechnical, and I'm resistant to the change, as you've already heard. Monica is our most senior tester. She's coming from a manual background, but she's built these technical skills. She's constantly learning, and she wants to do the job right. She's very focused on having great tests. Kevin's our junior. He's joined the team. He wants to do test automation. He thinks testing is only test automation. I'm saying, okay, Kevin, testing is not just test automation. And Leila is our new hire. And the battle is about to begin. So Leila, now if you would like to take over the presentation.
Sure. Okay, so am I sharing? Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So first test is a pass. Agenda. So today we will explain, compare, battle, and review the browser and Selenium library. And we will announce the winner based on what you think or who you think will be the winner. So first things first, I'm gonna go through what is Selenium and browser library in a few words. And Selenium, as it is stated on the Robot Framework website, it's a web UI testing library, and it is based on the Selenium internally. And it is really an industry standard from 2008. We can basically say that Selenium library automates browsers. That's it. But there is more to discover. So I'm just going to go very fast through the installation so that you can see that we need this pip command. We also need Python, you know that. And when we would like to test on the Chrome, then I need to go to the Chrome driver website to download the Chrome that I'm gonna test my Chrome width. So for example, if I have 102 point something version of Chrome, then I need to have this precise Chrome driver, and I have to go to the website and do it manually. That goes for any other drivers. Okay, so we can have a look onto the keywords. So you can see, and most of you voted that you already work with this library. So you know that it has this keyword website, and the documentation for the keywords is really nice for Selenium library. You have all these keywords and the arguments and also examples ready. And so it's really nice to work with this library. I do agree with that. And for most of my automation career, I worked with this library, and now, for example, I work with Java plus Selenium as well. So it is really an industry standard. But the world is changing, and we do have this browser library that is available for Robot Framework since 2020. And it basically says, okay, I am a modern browser automation library for Robot Framework. I am here for the um, new websites that are written in these JavaScript libraries such as React, Angular, etc. And mm, I am able to um, do everything that Selenium does, but maybe even better. So I was really wondering if that is true, and that's what this webinar is basically about. So the browser library, the same as Selenium, automates browsers, and it is powered by Playwright. Playwright is a framework since 2018, which is a fairly um, new framework. But if you dig deeper into the Playwright history, it is basically a fork from Puppeteer. So maybe you've heard about Puppeteer. And Playwright is backed up um, by Microsoft. So I mean that's a huge thing, because you have these stable releases, and even if you have problem with the library and you um, write to the and you write this bug on the GitHub, then basically you'll get an instant or within 24 hours answer how to proceed, or that they will think about the change in the next release. So that's big difference between Playwright and Selenium, I would say. So although Playwright is new, just it's a great thing that it is backed up by Microsoft. And it aims for speed, reliability, and visibility. We will talk about this more. And it is a Node.js based framework through a single API. That is very important, because that basically means that it works with the engines and not only with the drivers. And we get more notion about what is going on in the browser itself. And as I said, we will talk about this as well a little bit more in the webinar. So let me just go very fast through the installation so that you can see that it is really the same like Selenium in terms of you use this pip install robot framework browser. Plus, once you have Node.js installed, its installation is simple as with Python. Then you initialize the browser library with RF browser in it, and that's it. You're all set and you're good to go. So both libraries really easy to install. Difference really is that the browser library has all the drivers as the one package, so you don't have to go to the Chrome driver website and download the Chrome driver. You do not have to work with the versioning of the drivers. In the browser library, you do not have to do this kind of maintenance. So when I go to the Chrome driver, right, there are different kind of versions. So I have to double check what version of Chrome am I using. Then I have to go in here and I have to download it for my, for example, Windows or Linux or whatever you're using. And this goes for, like I said, any kind of browser. And this is something that you need to do with the Selenium library, but you don't have to do it with the browser. You are good to go. This solution is really out of box for Playwright. Okay, and the keywords. So when you compare the Selenium library and browser library, it's very similar. Again, we do have less keywords for browser library, but that's because browser library has a higher level of abstraction. So I mean, with one keyword, you can do more things. It just depends on how you use it. And we will talk about this as well. It has its official website. I think that I showed you this as well. So it says that it is designed for the basically for the new generation of automation. And we'll speak also about the community, but I think that we are good to go to the comparison table. So I prepared for you a very simple comparison table that was relevant for me, but there is always more to compare when you go onto the internet and try to find the comparison tables. I'm sure that you'll find more things to compare. But for me, these things were relevant. And I mean, you can see that the release year for Selenium was 2004, for for Playwright 2018. So that's a time difference of 14 years. That's in IT, like before and after dinosaurs. It's a great difference. But still, in terms of documentation, browser has really nice documentation as well as Playwright. And usage is, like I said, the same. They are aiming for web UI testing. They are both open source. In terms of installation, they are both easy to install. You need a pip command. For the Selenium, you need to manually um, download drivers every time that the browser changes its version. And if you do it for 4 browsers, then you're gonna need to maintain that ecosystem. For the browser library, you just need to install Node.js once, and that's it. So with browser library, no driver maintenance needed. About the browsers supported, you can see that they are very similar. The browsers that Selenium and Playwright support. The difference is that Selenium also supports Internet Explorer, but I mean, Internet Explorer is in 2022 dead, right? And browser library also supports WebKit on Windows, which is great because you cannot test Safari on the with the Selenium library on Windows. And about the other things, so Selenium has implicit, explicit, and fluent weights. And we do have this synchronization problem that I will speak more. And for the browser, we have auto weights. These auto weights are really the native weights, which makes testing very accurate, very resilient. And I will show you this in the code. I will speak a little bit about the Shadow DOM and iframe support. Both libraries support these. These features, but they have different approaches towards it. So, for example, Shadow DOM in Selenium, you can use the full JS path, which is really, really long path, for the Shadow DOM to work with Selenium. And it is a CSS, so these cascades that you go through, and probably your tests are going to be really, really slow. And if you need this um, if you basically need to speed it up, then I do advise you to have a plugin for the Selenium library and for the Shadow DOM support. And for the and in the browser library, it treats Shadow DOM as any other element. So you do not need any plugin. You do not have to treat it as the JS full path. So it's very easy to work with. And for the iframes in Selenium, it treats it as a new window. So you have to go to this new iframe window, do whatever you need to do, and then go back. And with the Playwright or browser, it's not necessary to move between these windows. So it again treats it as any other element. So it's really nice. Browser has really nice approach towards Shadow DOM and towards the iframes as well. So very good support compared to Selenium. And because many applications are now written in the JavaScript libraries, we usually get I don't know about you, but I usually get application that has a lot of iframes. So, I mean, in these terms, browser is really nice to use. And imagine that you have Shadow DOM, and within this Shadow DOM, you have the element that says um, text is here, and you have to check the word text. No chance with Selenium. So in these terms, in this contains thing within the Shadow DOM, it is really a killer for Selenium and a real use case for browser library. And the library support, well, I don't know if it is okay to compare the two libraries in terms of support because as you've seen for the release year, there is a huge difference when Selenium was released and when browser was released. So, I mean, of course, browser has limited support, but still it has good documentation. And as I spoke before, it has a really good support, and that is because Playwright Playwright is a Microsoft thing. Okay, and for the Selenium, I mean, there are pros and cons because it basically has because it is older and the support for Selenium is much wider than for Playwright. Okay, so let's move on to the battle part. And for the battle part, we chose these 6 companies. And for these 6 companies, we made tests in Selenium and in browser. And if you would like to ask me why the banking sector, why you know why these 2 frameworks and why to compare it, it's basically that I looked onto YouTube, I looked onto various resources, and I couldn't really find anything like this. And we really gathered a lot of data. So we will share with you the results in the results part. And I'm going to continue. I was really interested in trying to find what technology the website is running on. So I used this Webalizer website, and I found that, for example, Airbank has front end written in the React. So I was wondering if that makes any kind of difference. And we have a free application in React, 2 in Bootstrap, and 1 in Angular. And we will see how it goes, if it makes a difference at all. And what we've noticed with when we worked, so me, Monica, and Kevin, when we worked with the browser library. So these are the test cases. I just translate the first one because we mainly we mainly had this project going on in the Czech and Slovak language. So you can see that test cases are very simple. So for example, contacts, click on contacts and check that the text contacts it on the web page, check that the headquarters and the phone number is visible, and after you check it, then acquire these data, get the address and phone number. So we had these kind of really simple tests across all these 6 banks and through these 2 frameworks. So now we have this code comparison part that I will speak about, and you will see that what was this project about. And first, we're going to speak about the weights and visibility. So for Airbank, for example, we have this a Selenium code. Then you can notice that it says Airbank check text contacts. So even from this, you get the notion what it is about. And basically, I needed to wait until page contains this text, ukáže další kontakty. And you can see that I have more code in here, and that's because when I went onto the Airbank webpage, I found out that if I write only wait until page contains and this text, then test fails, and that's because because Selenium doesn't see it. So I needed to scroll through um, through the first part so that Selenium can see it, and that helped, but still it wasn't stable. And I was wondering what is really going on. So I ran a couple of times the test, and I found out that sometimes it scrolls through the web page, but sometimes it scrolls within the little window that pops up on the Airbank webpage, and this window opens the virtual assistant chat. So it's a chat window. So I first had to close this window. I had to agree that yes, I would like to close this virtual assistant chat window. Then I scrolled through the web page, and then I could use this keyword wait until page contains and this text that I was looking for. So I mean, that was really funny, and I mean, I wanted to use the instead of execute JavaScript Windows scroll tool, I wanted to use scroll element into view, but that didn't seem to work. And I realized, oh, yeah, that happened to me a couple of times because now I work on a project Java and Selenium. But before, when I worked with the robot framework and Selenium, it happened to me a couple of times that instead of this scroll element into view, we use this window scroll too because the keyword didn't seem to work. Or maybe I'm not using it right. Who knows? But anyway, I usually use this execute JavaScript, and that helped. And I stabilized the test, and then we have this Airbank get number and address, and you can see that I have a couple of times this key. I use a couple of times this keyword wait until element is visible, and mm, the truth is to make the test pass, I do not have to use this wait until element is visible. But then I found out that when I lock the contact number for Airbank, I have an empty variable. So although the test passes, the Selenium interacts with the element, although it is not ready. So I had to put this wait until element is visible keywords a couple of times to make double sure that the telephone and the address is logged right and the variables are not empty in the test. And I mean, it's just sometimes really fun to work with Selenium in terms of you never know what is going on in the uh, in the test. So when I compare it with the browser library for the checking text part, I just used wait for element state, and it basically waits for the element state to be visible by default. But you can use other arguments. It can be enabled, disabled, etc. So I didn't need to close the virtual assistant. I didn't need to scroll. And also for the get number and address, I didn't need to wait until elements are visible or enabled, and I get the same results, maybe even better, with less code, and I have more stable tests. So that is for me amazing. I was maybe the doubting Thomas when I started to use browser library, but it keeps amazing me every time. And I would like to speak maybe more about the weights. I do have something prepared that the browser library automatically waits for the elements of the web of the page and interacts with them once they are ready for the interaction. That is very important. And auto waits performs basically all relevant checks for the elements, and it makes it easier to write these concise, resilient test cases. And it um, basically ensures that the elements are, like I said, ready. And because they are ready, they perform as expected, and the results are more accurate. With the Selenium, we have the synchronization problem. The synchronization problem is when the framework you use has the stable speed. So it has the same speed all the time, that is Selenium, but your application does not. So in Selenium, we have this kind of fluent wait, implicit wait, explicit wait, and still you do not know if you're going to use it correctly and how the application is going to behave when once you execute the test. And visibility, you can see that Selenium doesn't see the element. You have to scroll to the element view so that Selenium can approach it. For browser, it has more control over the browser session, and it sees the element and it scrolls automatically to that element. So we have less code and also more resilient test. And yeah, like I said, I'm amazed by this library. It is a really good substitution for the Selenium. Okay, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to show you the strict mode violation. And on the left-hand side, there is Selenium test. On the right-hand side, there is browser test. So now I executed the Selenium test, and this test is about clicking on the exchange rates and setting in to the, for example, 1st of March that you would like to mm, we were interested what was the exchange rate for the particular date. Mm. So we're going to click onto this input, and we're going to change the date. And for Selenium, we have the status pass for the test. And now let's do this also for the browser library. And for the browser library, it's going to fail. And we're going to see the strict mode violation, which basically tells you that browser found that the element we are giving has actually two results on that web page or more results on that web page. And this is something that really that is not allowed in the browser once you have this strict mode set. And I was surprised myself because Selenium test passed without me knowing that there are actually two results for the element. But for browser library, I had to change the element, and I was actually, happy because I get the false positivity with the Selenium library. The test passes, but it shouldn't actually because it finds two elements with the same locator that I'm giving to it, and it checks or clicks on the first one that it finds through this document object model. But actually, I was looking for the second one. So this test shouldn't pass. And it happens to me in the real project a lot of time that I don't get documentation from the developers what changed in terms of elements, or I get it once it is maybe too late. So, I mean, having a framework that says to me, oh, be careful because from the last regression, the document object model of the web page changed. And instead of one element for this locator, we have two elements, we have two results. So you need to double check it if you would like to change the element or if you would like to, you know, um, maybe change it or say to the automation test if it should be the first one or second one in the row. So this is the strict mode violation that I was very happy with. And you could say that, okay, but I mean, what if I don't want this? Then you can go on the browser library keywords, and we have this set mode, and we can disable this mode um, within one keyword or globally. So it can be locally, globally, it depends on you. But this is the feature that browser has and Selenium does not. And for our particular project, that means that the Selenium test passed, although it shouldn't. So I really have a better control over the browser session with the browser library than with Selenium. Okay, let's go to another. Maybe this one I will show you faster in the Visual Studio Code. So we have this test. It checks the text branches are on the Airbank website. And when I was developing the test, um, I I was looking for the for to check this word pobočky. And for Selenium, I have this wait until page contains pobočky, and it worked good. But when I tried to use something like that for the browser library, Then I use text equals to. Then again, I had browser library telling me that there are actually more than one. So text pobočky result to two elements, text pobočky a bankomaty, and or if I would like to use this span has text pobočky. So I mean, I didn't even need to make the XPath. I have the locator ready from the console using the debug library. So I just copied the locator and put it in here. So this is one way of doing it. If you don't want to create your XPath, or I could just do this. So make it double sure that this text is only pobočky, and probably um, probably the element state. Um, I think that I forgot something. Yeah. It's probably gonna be like this. Well, anyway, let's move on. And so you could really see that I just needed to go onto the assertion in the browser library, and I could find the answer to my question. So it is really well documented, and this was the ultimate thing for me, that I didn't need to create the XPath locators. I just, did this click and in this interactive shell, and I put there text equals and a word, and it popped up with me, and that there is a strict mode violation, and it showed me all the possibilities for that element, and I knew which element, for example, that I knew that this pobočky is a span. So I just copied the element, I put it in here, and I could move on. And it was really fast to create locators for the browser. Okay, so we are a little bit running out of time, so I'm just gonna go forward. Assertions. I've just showed you assertions, so that's the way that you need only one keyword, for example, get text. And then you can use this, for example, text equals, or everything that equals and this text. So um, these operators are something that we cannot use with the Selenium library. With Selenium library, if you want to use, for example, contains, page should contain, then I would need to try to find contains and wait until element contains, or wait until location contains. So I will need to find the whole keyword, because one keyword has one usability. And remember when I said that browser library has a higher level of abstraction, So by that, I meant that I need only one keyword and I can parameterize. I can give the arguments such as equals or should not be. So I can use these operators instead of the whole keyword. And it's easier to remember these operators and easier to, not all the time finding new keywords like in the Selenium library. So, mm, so that is something really nice to consider that um, if you mm, which I mean, it depends on you which one, which solution do you prefer? For me, these kind of assertions makes more sense. And let's go to the presentation. So for me, Selenium, if you showed me this kind of code last year, I would tell you, yeah, it looks good. I mean, I would need to go through the whole repository, of course, but I mean, from what I see, it's very nice and clean code, and I wouldn't have anything against it. But now, when I know how browser library works, then this is for me even nicer, more transparent code. And you can even see that we have less code that automates, that checks the elements that are visible and enabled at the same time. So it has even more it is even more useful, or usability of the keywords are even better than with the Selenium library. Okay, and so to sum it up, Selenium feels a bit heavy compared to browser. So that's the outcome of the project when we were scripting the test for these 6 companies. And if you would like to discover more for the browser library, then um, there was an introduction of the browser library on the Robocon last year from the authors, and also a deep dive. So I do encourage you to have a look onto the YouTube for these two videos. And there is even more. They speak more about this library in these 2 videos. But I mean, I do hope that within 2 years, Playwright and browser library will be more and more used. Okay, and now I am handing over the results to you, Phil.
Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully you can see me presenting now. So we're back to me. I'm the skeptical, resistant to change test manager. Leila's run a proof of concept to try and to prove to me that using browser instead of Selenium in Robot Framework will be better. What I've seen, I've talked to Monica and Kevin. Monica's the experienced manual tester who's learned test automation, and she's happy. She's finding it much easier to write stable code. And Kevin, I see his learning curve is much, much faster. So that's half of my problem solved. I was worried about how much time the team were spending on coding, trying to get stable scripts, so the developers weren't complaining that the regression pack was failing in the continuous integration pipeline the whole time. But the second question is speed. Is it any faster? So Leila produced me some nice graphs, and as a test manager, I love graphs. So let's look at these graphs. So we're going to compare new browser. That means every time the script runs, it opens a new browser. And with Playwright or with browser, we have the opportunity to use new context, which means it doesn't have to open the whole new browser. It actually opens a new context within the browser. And this is one of the big advantages that Playwright are pushing that their tool is better because of this. And we're going to compare running in headed mode and headless mode. So I had no idea. I said, so what's the difference? So basically, Leila explained to me that headless mode is what you try and do to make it faster. And when you run it in CI/CD pipelines, you tend to try and run it in headless mode because it should be faster. But when you're actually just doing normal testing and you actually need to see what's happening with this script, you run it in headed mode. So with going back to this new context, this is from the Twitter feed from Playwright. Yeah, so never restart the browser. You restarting the browser is slow. And every time you open a browser, it creates a memory overhead. If any of you're still using Chrome, then you know that it takes a lot of resources from your computer once you have many windows open. And with the context, it's still fully isolated. The test is still running fully isolated. It's much faster to start. It's got much lower overhead. So Leila explained it. I understood it. Hopefully I could explain to you. And the difference between the headless and the headless mode, I've already explained. So headless mode means it's running without seeing what's happening, what's being clicked on the screen. And the headed mode is you can see what's happening. So the preconditions were to make the battle fair, to make the conditions for this battle fair. We said all the tests must pass, because if the one test fails and one test passes, then we're not comparing the same thing. We have to run it on the same machine. So it's not like Kevin has a new computer, so he's going to run fast on his, and Monica, who's hanging on to her old computer because she's got lots of things installed there. We're putting all the results into report portal. So we've got all the results from all the tests. So we've launched the tests. We have 10 tests, and one launch is run all 10 tests. So what we did was to get reliable data, so it wasn't just comparing one run or several runs, to have as many runs as possible. We did 10 launches. And we did it in 6 variations. Selenium new browser, so Selenium's open new browser in headed mode, browser open a new browser in headed mode, browser with a new context in headed mode, Selenium opening new browsers in headless, browser opening new browser in headless, and browser opening a new context in headless. So we've got 6 banks we've tested on. We have 6 variations, these combinations of browser and Selenium, and we've got 10 launches. So how many tests is that? So I'm calculating, and the answer is with 3,600 tests. So it's a fairly good sample of data for me, the test manager, the skeptical guy, to say, okay, this is going to tell me the truth. So let's go through each bank. So starting with Airbank, and it's React.js. So we can see here a bit of animation. First, if we compare Selenium opening a new browser in headless mode compared to browser opening a new browser in headless mode, then we can see 66% faster. That sounds good to me. Yeah, 13 minutes versus 8 minutes. Great. Yeah, the developers are going to be happy with that result. So what about new context in headless? Well, it doesn't make too much of a difference. It's a little bit faster, but there's not really much of a difference there. So, okay, I'm not sure why, but okay, then get to headed mode. So the browser and Selenium are pretty much the same. Yeah, but if I'm running in headed mode, so I'm seeing what's happening on the screen, and I run it with new context, then it gets significantly faster. So that's quite interesting. So, but that's one bank based on React.js. Chesscast Pogitello. Again, React.js, and here we see the results are not so convincing. So Selenium new browser and headless, browser new browser and headless, just 21% faster. It's nice, but do I really want to refactor all my code to use browser for 21%? I'm not so convinced. And running with new context again, it's actually slightly slower for some reason. With the headed, browser is slower than Selenium. Okay, but Leila looked into it and said, oh yeah, there's some problems. Maybe there's some, Leila, if you want to make a comment, exactly what was the problem in this case?
we had 3 launches that took 2 minutes instead of 1 minute. And I was surprised myself, just 2 tests that were slower. And I don't know why. So maybe the internet connection, maybe something happened. I think it's just life. So, but still, I didn't want to, erase these runs. I wanted to put it in the statistics, so that sometimes, so that people know that it may happen with the browser library as well. That it can be even slower than Selenium, but usually when we use the new context, which is a great feature of the browser library, and Selenium does not have it, then it's then we found out it's always faster.
Okay, so we've got one React.js website where it's significantly better, and another React.js where it's not significantly better. Maybe it's the implementation. Maybe it's how the guys have actually implemented it, how they code it. Raiffeisen is based on different technology. So let's compare it again. So headless browser and Selenium new browser, really a lot faster. Very nice. Again, with the new context in headless mode, it's a little bit faster, but not significantly so. And if you go to the headed mode, then here browser is actually quite slightly faster than the other cases. And here with the headed context, like really a lot faster. So here we see like that the browser library is significantly faster in both cases. Monitor bank, again, not such convincing results. Yeah, so headless mode, new browser, it's 14% faster. In that case, I'd be doubting whether it's worth refactoring all the code. With a new context, again, a little bit faster. Again, new browser was actually slower in headed mode. Leila, what was the reason behind that? Did you see any anomalies?
One run, one launch. So that means 10 tests was 3 times slower than the rest 9 launches. So I would say it was an anomaly.
Okay, but overall it was generally faster. And again, in the new context.
Overall, if this anomaly did not occur, then comparing Selenium and new browser headed, the browser would be 4% faster.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, initializing the browser session is time consuming. So yeah, I'm really admiring the new context approach.
Československý obchodní banka. Yeah, so again, browser versus Selenium in headless mode, significantly faster. That's the big improvement. New context, again, just slightly better in headless mode. And for the headed mode, again, we're seeing again that the browser is faster here than Selenium, and the new context actually here didn't give too much of an advantage. Finally, commercially banker. So with again significant improvement in the headless mode with the new context, just slightly better, and again significantly better here, significantly better in the headed mode, and with the new context, better again. So that's the summary of the results. You can see in some cases it was like a little bit unconvincing, maybe needs some analysis, maybe there's factors there like not just the technology, but also the way the guys have implemented the web pages. But we can see that
I mean, I forgot to mention that it's not the JavaScript technology that the front end is written in all about. So there are more aspects to the web stack of the application. So at the end, it doesn't really matter if it is Angular, React JS, or the Bootstrap. So you could see that this factor didn't really make any change, but we could see that, I mean, continue fill, they will see that the difference between speed.
So this is the overall comparison. So we can see that basically it corresponds to what we just said already, that the browser is faster in headless mode, slightly better new context in headless mode, and the new context is in headed mode, making quite a significant difference. So overall, it looks good, but there is some differences between implementations, which might mean that it'd be a good idea if you did your own proof of concept. Yeah, that maybe for your specific technology stack and product, it might not be so good, and it might be good. So it'd be well worth doing a proof of concept. Our team has already done it 6 times on 6 different web pages. Our Tesena Labs is open to all. So if you as a client, a potential client, or a company would like to run a proof of concept and like to work with our team, who've already got some know-how and some experience with doing this proof of concept, and can help you write the scripts and give you some information and some context and some help you along and help you analyze results, then we really would be happy to hear from you. You can contact me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Phil Royston. or Leila, yeah, Leila Miri. So we'd be very happy to talk to you about if you'd like to do a proof of concept with us within Tesena Labs. So it's a great result for Playwright. I'm happy because the testers are happier. They're writing code faster. The code is more stable. The developers are happy that the tests aren't failing for no reason, let's say, within the CI/CD pipeline, and it's going to run faster. So we'll achieve the result of being able to deploy once a day, which is what the development team really want to do. They want to roll out changes every single day, which would be fantastic for our very old traditional bank. We've moved on a long way. Leila, do you want to comment the lines of code?
If you would think that there is a difference in count of lines of code between these two frameworks, then I have to disappoint you. There is 2.5% difference, which is almost nothing. So if you would like to use browsers so that you get less count of lines, then there is not much big difference. But in terms of less letters in the code, I do encourage you to try browser because there is less code as you've seen, and it is therefore more transparent. Definitely easier for a newbie to read through it.
Yeah, Kevin was pretty happy, let's say. So in review, pros and cons?
Sure. So you've seen the installation for both frameworks. It's very similar. It's easy to install, ready to use. The only difference is that with Selenium, you do have this maintenance thing. So when your browser, for example, Chrome, changes the version, then you have to go onto Chrome driver website to download manually the driver and to change it in your system. And that goes for every browser you use. So the Gecko driver for the Mozilla, etc., etc. So I mean, in terms of installation, it's I would say easy for both frameworks. But in terms of maintenance, um, browser wins. Documentation, they have both good documentation. I don't have anything against it. So this is kind of the same for me for these frameworks. Writing code, it was much easier to write code in the browser library, and it was also faster because there is less code as I've shown you, and also I could use the selectors that the interactive console showed me. Waits, definitely auto waits. It will be, and it is really hard for me to go back because now I work on the project, like I told you, in Selenium, and it is hard for me to get back to Selenium. I would like to, if you know about any kind of project, or if you would like to try and make proof of concept of your application within the Tesena Labs, then like Phil said, let us know, because I would like to work with this browser library professionally, not only within one project that we ended with the webinar. So, I mean, I'm amazed. It's great. Stability, definitely more stable tests with the browser library. Speed, you've seen it. Phil showed you that the graphs, let the graphs spoke, for themselves. And control over browser session. That's again, you get better notion of what is going on in the browser session with the browser library. And also the logging errors that I get are more into detail than with the Selenium library. Keyword arguments possibility. And by that, I mean how you can parameterize the keywords, for example, with the assertions, but it's not only assertions. When you look onto other keywords in the browser library, then you'll find that you have number of arguments that you can put to the keyword. For example, even for click, you can set the delay, you can set other things. So you can really play with the parameterization of the keywords. Locators. I haven't shown it, but I do encourage you to have a look onto the YouTube for the browser library because you can chain the selectors with the browser library. So for example, you can use the CSS and the XPath on the same line. Um, we didn't need to use it for this project, but I mean, it is really interesting. And there is basically no limitation on how you work with locators with the browser library. I haven't found one. Um, with the Selenium library, it's a limitation with the Shadow DOM that I spoke about. Overall user experience from me, Monica and Kevin, we enjoyed to work with the browser library, and mm, once we could script some code, then basically all three of us found out that it's better to use this library than the Selenium. And in terms of support, um, when you are a newbie to automation and you would like to find, or you don't have to really be a newbie, you want to find a solution to your problem, then um, there is a high probability that you will find the answer to your question on the robot framework community or the Stack Overflow for your answer for the Selenium library. It may not be the case of browser library as it is new. So there is definitely less support for browser library, but the community is getting a bit bigger. Also, there is the on the robot framework, there is page for the browser where you can ask your questions, and if you are not sure, then the authors of the library as well as the playwright team are very welcome and responsive to your questions. So to sum it up, I didn't find a lot of disadvantages to browser library myself. So I'm really amazed by it. I think that I told it now like fourth time or fifth time. So that's it.
Okay, so that's Leila's decided which is the winner for her, and we'd like you maybe to give us now, if you pop over to Slido. You go to Slido in your browser, put in #battle, or use the QR code in the screen. If you'd like to give it a vote, which tool won the Battle of the Tools? And I didn't put there, don't know.
I like the results now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the results now as well. So we have two two responses, and yeah, I guess I'm not really wondering why browser says that it is a new um, library for 2020. Oh,
Ooh.
interesting.
Give it a few more seconds. If you've got any questions, you can also go to the Q&A on Slido or write in the chat on Teams. I'll just leave the. Oh, yes, that's better. Yes. Keep voting.
Well, to be fair, both can do web UI automation, and it's really a question of which framework is more comfortable for you. And I mean, in terms of which framework is more, stable and uh, more resilient, then I would say that for me, browser wins. But I think that I keep repeating myself, so I'll just stop.
Okay, so Magda said thank you. Hopefully you found it useful. We can wait a few minutes if you have any questions. Don't be shy.
Maybe everything was answered. Well, uh,
Do you use Shadow DOM support in your project, Leila?
yes, I did, and maybe I should share the screen. So Oh. And when I show you this one, so unhide it, and from current slide. So when I saw the shadow DOM that I had to use, I was I was like this, like, do I really have to do this? Of course, that I could also install the plugin, but at the time this was much faster for me as a solution. But if I would do like professional proof of concept, then I would probably go for the plugin as well to see if it is faster. And in browser library, the shadow DOM is like any other DOM element. So this is the solution for the browser library. And I tried to do it like this in the Selenium, but it just didn't work because, as you can see, this is the shadow root, and I had to use the full JS path. So yeah, we did use it once, and I wasn't really happy about it. But with the Angular application, I guess it's common to have these shadow documents. Oh, the shadow elements. And
Sounds scary because I don't even know what it is. So.
and I think that I would like to also show you the I will share with you Cypress versus Playwright if you are interested. There is a beautiful YouTube video that explains the difference between these two frameworks. And also the Cypress Tesena meet up that will be in a couple of days. So you are welcome, very welcome to join and to enjoy the uh, the session. Hey.
Okay, so we've got some more questions. How long have you been using the browser, Leila?
For 3 months, I guess, but I know about browser library for about half a year now.
Yeah. Okay, and Michael is asking, what about using directly Playwright than browser library in combination with the robot framework? So can you use Playwright and robot framework together?
I've tried it. I thought that it wouldn't be a problem, but I was surprised myself. You cannot mix these libraries together because I tried to put some Selenium keywords in the browser library session, and it told me that no web page is opened, and I did it also the vice versa, and basically I got different words but the same, but I mean the same answer, that no browser is opened. So you cannot mix these libraries together as far as I know, but I mean, maybe in the future, or maybe if somebody um, writes it as a bug, then they would look onto it. But I don't think it will be a priority because um, I don't think it is a good idea to mix these libraries together, and that's for one simple thing: namespaces. Um, you have some keywords that are the same for browser library and for Selenium library, and you would need to specify those same keywords if it is for which library you would like to use them. So what I want to say, maintenance. You're gonna have a higher maintenance for your project. Yeah. So
Michael has corrected himself. He said, I meant to use basic Playwright versus robot framework browser library. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I don't know if I understand the question, just a basic. Oh, I mean, you can, in terms of, you know, that when you work with robot framework, then you don't have to write the script in the robot framework itself. You can go to Python, have a py file, you write your script, and then you call it in the robot framework. And you can use Playwright with the Python. Uh, so there is no problem with that. So you can even use directly Playwright with the robot framework. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that looks like, I'm just double checking if I saw everything. That looks like all the questions. A lot of people said thank you. I also say thank you, Leila. It was a fantastic presentation. I'm just
Thank you,
saying, as
Phil.
a non-technical person, I usually get very bored when people start showing code, and usually go and make a coffee. But that was, for me, interesting because you were explaining the differences and the advantages and the disadvantages, and for me it was fantastic. We should repeat this presentation again somewhere. Okay.
Right.
Maybe the question we were talking about, that you have to download manually the Chrome driver Selenium. That's not necessarily true. We made a script for automated download, so it is possible.
Of course it is possible, but you had to do it. You had to write the script. I mean, of course, you can find on the Stack Overflow, maybe there is a script already viable, but you have to find it or you have to write it. So it's nice that in browser or in Playwright, you have it in the package itself. I think that this is a very modern approach. Why should I be concerned of maintaining the versions of the driver, or why should I be concerned of the synchronization problem? I think that these kind of problems were or did Playwright overcome. And I think that I did not mention, but you can use Playwright for the engines, towards the engines, and as well towards the drivers. So you cannot use Selenium directly against the vendored engines.
Okay, and another question. So we've stayed long enough. Dennis asks, did you use your own keywords, meaning added by custom JS library?
We did not for this project. It was not in the scope. But I do know that there is a possibility, and I will use it definitely. We usually use the Python keywords, but I did not go to the JS for this project.
Okay. So any more questions? Well, you have Leila here. And obviously she has a lot of expertise to answer your questions. Okay, great. So thank you very much for attending today. Sorry for some of you, there was a miscommunication about the start time, but you'll get the video so you can see the first half. But I think you got the idea from the second half, or the second 2/3. So thanks for attending. We hope we'll hear from you if you want to learn more about browser in Robot Framework, and if you would be interested in joining with our team to do a proof of concept for your own technological stack, for your own web pages. We did it on banks, but you could have an e-shop or some e-commerce site, which I think is what Playwright is really promoting, that it's very good for, because they tend to be very technologically advanced. So if you're interested in any of that, then please reach out to us, and we'd be very, very happy in working with you on helping you do your own proof of concept. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day, and Mahlzeit and dobro chuť.